So within hours of the EgyptAir flight disappearing over the Mediterranean, Donald Trump called it an act of terrorism long before any official evidence pointed to a potential bomb or any type of terrorist act, which we're still waiting for at this point, although a lot of people do say, including the Egyptian government, that they believe that that's the direction that this is heading. So there's a lot of people asking if that was the right tone to take for the presidential candidate. R.A. Fleischer is former White House press secretary to President George W. Bush. So what would George W. Bush say about that?
Well, I went through this, actually. If you remember, on Veterans Day 2001, 2 months after 9/11, a plane took off from JFK and immediately crashed. And it took 5 long hours. It was the 5 longest hours of my life because the White House press corps demanded me to brief. Was it terrorism? Was it terrorism? And I wouldn't address the press until I had the facts. I think both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, who also said this appears to be terrorism, have jumped the gun. We don't know yet. And when you're running for president, you might be the president. You should wait till the facts are in before you reach a conclusion, especially one that says this is terrorism.
So here's the issue, though. Donald Trump is clearly resonating with the American public who are sick and tired of people pussyfooting around this issue, right? Regardless of whether or not this particular crash turns out to be terrorism, they're saying, look, we need to call this what it is. It's Islamic extremism in other cases, in the rest of the world. And, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it turned out to be mechanical and Donald Trump says, well, not that time.
But he's too late.
Right?
He's already said this plane was blown up and saying it was terrorism. He says if anybody doesn't think it was terrorism, they don't know what they're talking about. 50-50 chance he's right or he's wrong, but he doesn't know.
But it doesn't matter with people who support him, is what I'm saying. He can easily backpedal, and those people are not, they're going to say, oh, so what? So he was wrong that time.
But Martha, how about if he had done this? If he had tweeted saying, this might be terrorism. We're weak. We need to stop it. I will fight it.
I think he did say that in the first one out.
No, the first one out said it was terrorism, and then he grew. The first one he concluded it was terrorism. My only point is you can have it both ways, actually. You can hedge your words, which Donald Trump doesn't hedge, and still be strong in fighting terrorism. He needs to get better at the art of how he chooses words with precision instead of only just trying to rev it up. He could be a stronger candidate if he did it that way.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the numbers. Do Republicans think that, do you think Republican leaders should support Donald Trump even if they disagree with him on important issues? 80% now say yes, they believe they should. Do you agree?
Well, that's the camp I'm in. Donald Trump wasn't my first choice, and I've said there's a lot about Donald Trump that I disagree with, but I'll vote for him over Hillary Clinton any day because he's a better person than she is, and he's got better policy judgments than she has, and she has a track record that's absolutely terrible. So that's my conclusion. But people have the right to be different. I think what's fascinating about this is Donald Trump's likely going to lose a lot of suburban Republican women who Republicans need, but Hillary Clinton's going to lose a lot of white, blue-collar males who the Democrats need. Politics isn't frozen in time. This is the year it's changing.
I wonder, though, when you talk about the suburban Republican women, I wonder when they walk into that booth what they're going to do. And there may be, the polls could be wrong in many cases here because of this candidate, and I think there are a lot of people who are reluctant to say that they support him who probably do.
Martha, you're 100% right. I went back and looked at the last 3 primaries that Donald Trump won: New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana. All the averages, the last polls, dramatically underestimated Trump's actual. Pennsylvania, the last polls had him up 22. He won by 35.
See? Isn't that interesting? All right, so let's look at some more polls. Speaking of polls, the unfavorable numbers for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I mean, look at these. 61% and 56%. Let's go forward to the honest and trustworthy polls. Do you think that they are honest and trustworthy? No. 66% for Hillary Clinton, 57% for Donald Trump. What are we living in?
Yeah.
Look at this.
And put it in context.
These are the 2 people who are left, essentially.
In May 2012 and May 2008, Mitt Romney, John McCain, Barack Obama, their unfavorables were in the low 40s and upper 30s. Now we have 2 candidates in the middle to upper 50s. America today has nominated or is on the verge of nominating 2 of the most unpopular people you can imagine to represent both parties.
How did that happen?
Well, I think within each party they found the slice and they revved it up within that slice. and that's why. But Hillary still is in trouble with Bernie. She's going to win, but the split in the Democratic Party is profound. Bernie is much more popular than she is,
right,
but somehow she's winning, and it's because of their superdelegates.
And absolutely, and we've talked about that a lot here. You know, it's the authenticity factor,
yes,
and people think that Bernie, you know, love him or hate him, they feel like he's telling what he believes, and they think the same thing about Donald Trump. It's very clear. Donald Trump's numbers, his unfavorables, seem to be improving a little bit when I look back at, you know, over the months. So he has his work cut out for him. Do you think he can get into numbers that you would like to see in the United States of America for someone who's going to be president?
Absolutely. Well, he can get to numbers where he can beat Hillary. And then slowly lower his unfavorables. But because Hillary is so unpopular, he has a very realistic chance to beat her. Now, she has a realistic chance to beat him. This is a fairly evenly matched
let's look at the match.
Race.
Actually, the latest head-to-head that we have, this is a CBS New York Times poll, shows Hillary Clinton at 47%, Donald Trump at 41%.
That's right, and there was a Reuters poll showing Hillary's up only by 1 point. There was a Quinnipiac poll just in the last week that shows 3 battleground states dead even or Trump's ahead. Look, it's going to be a close race, and this all pushes back on the narrative of a CNN poll that came out right after Trump won the Indiana primary that showed Hillary up 13. This is a close race, and the polls are going to underestimate Trump as they did in the Republican primary, because the way this is being covered, people are not supposed to acknowledge that for Donald Trump.
In the suburbs. Very interesting. All right, great to have you here. Thank you so much. Good to see you.